River State has been in the eye of the storm lately, of course, partly because of the fact that it's now under military rule. So many things as the military has done in the past that's reminiscent of what this current administrator is doing in River State. In the last 1 month, since the declaration of state of emergency in River State, there has been controversies around how the administrator has administered the state, from appointment of local government chairman to appointment of some persons around him, and some of the persons are beginning to be scared at the way and manner he's going, about appointing people around him, given that his stay is just temporary. We have with us in, not in the studio now, but on Zoom, Dr. Peter Emmanuel Cooky is the acting director, Center for Water and Sanitation Studies, River State University. He will just give us an insight into the life while this sole administrator has run for just 1 month. Mr. Cooky, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show this morning. It's great to be with you once again. Well, for me, I won't say it's a military government. It's a quasi-democracy. So, because it's a stopgap, as stated by the president. But for us in Port as an ordinary citizen, we are not politicians. Life is also, the same way it has been. I still feel that the military administrators still have the same constraint, if not even more constrained than Fubara. I think Fubara had more constraint. I think both of them had a lot of constraint of not being able to perform at the optimal. And I think so. The proponent of the emergency rule would have seen that they even shot themselves more in the leg, because the when there's a lot of gag around you, you can't perform. You want to do your best, you can't do. Then the system suffer and the people suffer. So the state is also as peaceful as usual. Though it look as if it's getting to a tipping point, because you see there's a limit to which people can endure. And I hope we don't get to that point, because I hope that the peace still maintained. And of course, the solar advisors suffer from a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of this, deliberately people put a lot of misinformation saying the solar administrator said this, meanwhile they never said anything. So well, there's a lot of bit of confusion. Of course, you have counter protests over protests, but though it has been peaceful and everybody has been going their normal business and as usual. But I think the state is suffering because no investor will want to come to invest in a state of uncertainty, and where the rule of law are not in full swing. So I think the proponent of the state of emergency should begin to rethink uh, properly and ensure that they brought the state back to speed with its other counterparts, the other 35 states.
All right.
Thank you.
What do you make of these moves? We have seen some different activities in River State, especially as it concerns the protests. We first of all had one that didn't look like it held any water, but we had one that was for, similar for Fubara, and then we had one that was against, similar for Fubara, and then we have one that was for, the current sole administrator. So I'm wondering what's your reading of what's going on in River State. Anyone looking out
It just
outside the state will look like maybe there are people who are supporting the sole administrator, and some others are there not supporting the sole administrator. What is the current state of affairs? Are the people of River State good with what is going on with the sole administrator after having stayed for 1 month?
I wouldn't want to say it is as an I like to put this in perspective. I want to say it's for Fubara or for the sole administrator. Rather, it should be for instituting democratic governance and against democratic governance. Because let's not personalize it. The sole administrator did not appoint himself, so I'm sure he was minding his business somewhere. And so it should be for against democratic institutions and against anti-democratic institution. So, which means that there are people which reflect the different school of thought. So there are people who prefer, who don't like democracy. And I hope the president should not be sending that signal to the military that he does not like democracy. Because I remember what, as an ECOWAS chairman, what he did to the three West African states that military usurped power. And so I I think the people will be laughing at him now because what why were you punishing the other ECOWAS state while you are encouraging such in your I mean just like Femi Fanana said, it's like a joke. So I think I will not hold any of the either the school administrator or Fubara, but my take is squarely on the president that he's not being truthful, he's been ambivalent when it comes to issue of democracy. Of course, he may have his reason for the decisions he take, but I think it's a long while from now to take a retrospective view on this decision and see what it can be done to put back the state into functionality.
All right. Recently, we had an interview regarding the former governor of Rivers State. I'm talking about Nyesom Wike and the current minister of the FCT. He says he would have wished that Fubara had been removed permanently rather than the suspension. What do you make of that statement? Does it mean that maybe the suspension of the governor was not actually his thoughts, rather than the outright removal of the governor?
You see, that is also one of the, the the funny side of the whole issue because uh, a minister cannot now make constitute himself to a part of a government to now decide what happens to another level of government. He doesn't have such power. He doesn't have such capacity. It is unfortunate that the president played into his hand, and so he can make the statement he's making. Because, as far as I'm concerned, it was two fighting. It wasn't even a state issue at all. It shouldn't even be brought to a level of formalizing an informal agreement. But be as it may, the president played into it, and I thought Tinubu was more smarter than this, but I'm beginning to check. So I don't want to bother myself with what he's saying, but like I said last time, I wish he could be running to reduce the amount of the talk he's talking. But it's okay if the federal government feel he can be talking, then that is left for them. But I think with all information on ground now, the federal government knows whether the vast people are with him or not. I think the picture is clearer now. So we can see clearer now. So anybody can be making what discrimination they're making. And like I said, the legislator, they also not, I didn't expect them to act that way because they were elected by the citizens of their constituents and they never reverted back to their constituents. So it's unfortunate. But again, what he has done now, somebody like me, I don't like to discuss politics. It also makes us to now become to be more that if we don't, if we the citizens are not alert, the democracy we are enjoying can easily erode. That's what this has brought up. Like the last demonstration, I can see some, our responsible mothers, top government officials, former commissioners, even ministers joining the demonstration. Before this time, people would have been in our house, talking, drinking tea. But it has shown that now every citizen has to be on guard. And what it means is that 2027 it's not going to be the same game again for anybody, whether you're a minister, a former House of Assembly, or whatever. It's not going to be like that again. You cannot intimidate anybody again because all of us now have become wiser. So I think that he's good what he's doing. It's good what everybody is doing. People are not getting conscious that this state belongs to everybody. and everybody, no matter where you are contributing your quota to make the state better. So I think 2027 is not going to be Uhuru like they are thinking, because citizens are going to rise up. INEC can no longer manipulate election and move figure around as if they are playing chess to whichever group. I think it's better what is happening now, because 2027 in Rivers State, it's not about, nobody's going to shoot any gun. The citizens will make sure their vote count. It happened in Lagos State when Obi won and nothing happened. In this state, we are going to do similar thing that happens in Lagos State to ensure that nobody can intimidate anybody to write vote for anybody. We are all. I'm not going to be. I'm not a member of any party. In fact, we're going to form citizen group that will monitor the political party and monitor the electoral commission, so that people cannot behave as if they own the country. This country belongs to everybody. It doesn't belong to only the minister and his group of boys, but it belongs to everybody. So it is good what is happening now. 2027 is not going to be Uhuru for anybody. Only those who win the election are going to be declared. And anybody who constituted anti-democratic forces this period, we all know them, we all note them. They are not going to go anywhere. I'm from Popo. Such people from Popo will never come. Also, other local government will see that such anti-democratic forces who think that the state resources belong to them will not have access to power. So it is good what is happening now, because everybody is now being enlightened to know that we have a role to play if we are going to sustain democracy, especially in Rivers State and in Nigeria.
Indeed. I mean, it's really saddening seeing what's going on. But what you are seeing with what the administrator has done in the last 1 month, does it look to you like somebody who is there temporarily, or somebody who is going to stay even beyond the 6 months that has been allocated?
No, I don't see quite, apart from few, for example, for me was, I mean, why, what has to do with Civil Service Commission? I mean, Civil Service Commission, I don't see any reason for that. I mean, they're only there for employment and for promotion. So apart from that, I don't see anything he has done that's quite unusual. But I see it's a temporary, the mandate is 6 months. And so far, I think he has also, let's give him some credit too, because it's not easy to walk this line where you don't, no matter what you do, somebody have to say something about you. But I think he has at least so far conducted himself well as a military officer, which he has been more disciplined, because most of those disinformation can make, can cause a lot of problem and all those things. I think I don't see him stay more than 6 months, which is the mandate he have. But the only thing was that, just like I said before in my previous interview, those budgets would have been done by would have been approved by the National Assembly by just making a resolution and taking over the function of the House of Assembly. Because as far as I'm concerned, the House of Assembly was the problem. It wasn't the governor. From the beginning, the House of Assembly has been the problem. I don't even want to talk about the minister. The House of Assembly is the problem. They are an adult, because if they can be sued and also sued. So they are an adult. So the House of Assembly was a problem. And I also felt that, maybe why the governor could not approach the National Assembly, as in the case of Right Honorable to be Mechi, to take over the function of the State House of Assembly, probably because of the president of the Senate and his relationship with the minister. And each time, especially when Agbabio came to Rivers State for whatever birthday, and he made a lot of comments that should not be made by a third citizen of a country. I think people don't know the difference between individual candidate and when you are holding an office of a Senate president. I think all those kind of confusion, and also the way most of the legislators from Rivers were behaving, that probably didn't give the governor much confidence to approach the National Assembly to take over the function of the House of Assembly and pass the budget and continue to run the state for peaceful and governance. So I think, like what the Senate Minister was trying to do, was to go back to what we actually said that should have been the issue, asking the National Assembly to pass the budget. And again, the National Assembly too were also in a haste. I don't know, so blame the Administrator, because he was appointed even before the National Assembly gave approval. So now they are saying that the mandate was amended to include supervision, but they would have halted the process and provide a proper framework for the man to work. So the National Assembly too cannot be moving back and forth. It also is confusing. So that alone is also a problem. So I think going forward, the the peace committee that was proposed by National Assembly should probably be set up to look at if there's any genuine issues. Because I'm hearing that somebody said that they should give apology. I don't know apologizing for what, that what happened. That's the two-man business. But for us, is that is the House of Assembly ready to work? Are they sure they are ready to work? Then if they're ready to work, then let them do their work.
Right. We have had several controversies in this last 1 month. Beyond his, his pronouncement or his appointment as the sole administrator, and of course the fact that we have had protests for and against, we've also seen this latest development regarding the quagmire between him and the NBA. He's asking that the NBA pay back 300 million naira that the state government paid to them, which was not paid by him, but by Fubara. It's largely because they're going to have their AGM or AGC, annual general conference in River State. But now that they've shifted it to Enugu State, owing to the fact that they don't agree with the way and manner that he was appointed and the suspension of constitution in River State. So they are moving it to Enugu State. But then the government of Enugu of River State is saying, look, if you're not going to do this meeting, the reason why you gave you this money was because we thought that businesses would benefit if you have this meeting in the state. So if you're not going to do this particular meeting in the state, why don't you just return the money? And the NBA has replied and said clearly that they're not going to do it, that this was a gift. What's your reaction to that, and what's for you, what Rivers people are thinking, in this direction?
Yeah, for me, when I heard it, I don't even think it was necessary for him to bother himself with it. If NBA said they don't want to hold the meeting in River State as earlier stated, and NBA have their reasons, it's a professional situation. It's not a government arm. So, of course, there could have been a lot of benefit for the River State economy because, like I said, the place is just as quiet as anything. It's not like I can't even with era too was even as quiet. The only time we had a vibrancy, the last time we had a vibrancy in governance and activity in Rivers was during the period of Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi. That was when we had vibrancy. That was when there was, the state was, many professional associations was coming to hold the annual convention and this. There were a lot of, Amici allowed people to interact, people to discuss. You have the right to disagree with him, and you're sure you go back to your house, no problem. I mean, that was the last time we had such kind of vibrancy. So now there's no vibrancy in the town. There's no vibrancy anywhere. It passed through the hotel presidential. It's like a dead zone. That was a place that for you to even have to have a date to have a program was difficult. Or is it no hotel? Where will you go? Nothing's really happening. Nothing. So I understand the challenge of the sole administrator of wanting the program in River State, probably to help to create some vibrancy. So I think this is one of the lessons that we also in River State have learned, that we ought to be at our guard. It's not just to allow politicians do whatever they like, because at the end of the day, it is the people that will suffer, and businesses that suffer. Hotels are not getting any. Nightlife is almost zero, so everybody, things are not even. So I can understand the predicament of the solar administrator of having such, but he too can initiate something. There's a lot of things that can be initiated. I was expecting him to do more of town hall meeting with the people, talking with the people, coming out, and leave some of these political appointments, come out to talk to the people, find out what create many fora for people to discuss about River State, and that would have put him in a better pedestal, and also give a proper feedback which he can communicate to the president. So I was expecting him to do more of that, not getting bogged down with some of these issues. Because if you are assuming he has scheduled meetings with different groups and they are discussing, different for talk about strategizing the political climate and creating a more harmonious, and not to play. I'm not asking to play to anybody's tune, but create more further for people to talk about. But the more people talk, the more people can easily vent out their bottle of emotions and all that. And then from there, you can be able to even understand what is the main issues and how do you move the city back to its vibrancy. And so I think you should do more of consultation, more of talking both for and against, and then create some activities that make people, smile, make people to be happy, and then we would have achieved more than getting involved with whether MBA comes or not.
All right, but again, do you think that that monies should be returned to River State?
Well, like I said, I don't know the condition that was attached to the money. I didn't even know that money was given. Maybe they paid Costic, or so if the money was tied to holding the program. But if it was after all, Mickey has been donating money all over the place, donate to fire victim in Sokoto. Even when there was fire in my one market, he didn't donate anything. Mickey went to Lagos and gave to Lagos women 300 and something million. So Mickey has been donating money everywhere, and there was
No,
no,
but I
there was no.
mean that money is
So
too
why did
much to be just a donation. I mean, if you visited a
Wike
government
has
house
donated
and the
five
government
hundred
decides to give
million,
you
five
three,
hundred million. Wike has donated 500 million. Wike has donated 300 million. Wike has been donating money, and there was no. So, what should 300 million donated to MBA be an issue?
well,
River State
it's
used to
now.
receive donation. Come
Well,
on.
it is now an issue on that sole administrator. I mean, he sees it as a spite on him. You say you are not doing your meetings anymore in my state, but the government of this state gave you 300 million. So why don't you return it? Because the money belongs to the people of River State. So if he's saying it's an issue, don't you think it's an issue?
He can. The state has a lot of apparatus to get to the judge. We have Minister of Justice. There are a lot of state council. They can take them to court, and then let's try and see what is going to happen. You can't go and fight NBA to bring the money, but take them to court and prove that they should return the money. For me, that is not my main issue now. My main issue is that how do we make River State work again? How do we put River State at the part? If you go to Transamadi even is dead. No industry really working. How do we? The MPA is not working. Everything goes to Lagos State, and all the port in the south, all the port in the south is not working. And so, how do you? My daughter, I'm in the TV. So all the ports in River State is not working, and all the issues are no industry. You go to One is dead. So I think for me the most important thing should be declare economic emergency in River State. This was a state that was very vibrant in oil and gas business, but now it's almost zero. So we need to ensure that for me it's the economic activities that I'm more concerned about. Let us bring back the economic activity in the state. And these are tied to federal government policies. If you go to Apapa and Tinkan, the whole place is locked jam. Meanwhile, you go to Warri, the port is not functioning. You go to port in Port Harcourt, it's not functioning. So, I mean, that should be government interest, not about things that shouldn't bother us. How do we make sure? How do we bring back those industries? Most of the oil and gas companies have moved their offices to Lagos. You go to a cool hotel, Total is there. I mean, where Total has a big properties here, and it's not, and they are not there. So this what should be my interest. I mean, not because when there's an economic, and most of the things that causes the frustration, so because there's no serious economic activity going on in River State. Almost all the oil companies now operating offshore. The onshore facility, though quite we understand why those onshore facilities were abandoned because of the communal conflict and crisis. But all those onshore facilities were creating a lot of economic activities. If you go to Obag in Omok, it's not as active as it was before. So these are the issues that should focus the attention of the administrator. For me, that should be the main thrust. How do we make the economy of the state to run again the way it was running before? At least during Odili and post Odili era. That's what should focus our discussion. And that's why I think, the state government started an economic summit, and so these things are some of the things we are saying that should be the focus of should be
Are
the
you saying
focus.
that the state is not very vibrant and running like a business enterprise under Fubara?
The Fubara was not even up to 3 months before this issue happened. Even during weekend, the state was not working. There's no business that was really working. Somebody was like a dead zone. The River State vegetable oil has folded up. Nuclear has folded up. And Michelin has gone. Nothing was, no, just tell your cameraman to go to Transamadi. The only thing that was working there was the brewery, which Amechi even was the one who did the PPP with the International Brewery Limited. Most of those companies, they are dead, nothing working. The whole place overgrown with grasses. So these are the issues we should be talking about, not about one man and his group of people talking as if. What legislation have they passed that has to do with industrialization of the state? What can we point one particular project that was that industrialized the state? The WHO string factory has folded up. That was even close to Wazobia station. What are they talking about?
Yeah, I mean, what
The
about the
serious
construction of roads?
the serious unemployment and poor in the place is not. There's no business that works. The only thing is hotel. Who even sleeps in those hotels?
What about the construction of
I'm talking
roads
as an
under?
ordinary citizen now. I'm not a politician. This was not the Port Harcourt before I went for further study. This was not the Port Harcourt I left.
Okay, I was going to ask you. You said businesses are not being stimulating. I'm wondering, there were some roads that were constructed and even they were commissioned under Fubara.
You're talking about roads. I'm talking about businesses. They are not the same thing. I said we
Well,
have Trans Amadi industrial layout. Send your reporters to go and tell us how many private companies are operating.
well, businesses have to thrive. You know, if you don't have adequate roads, those businesses would also suffer. They would have issues, with transporting their goods and services
Yeah,
across board.
we agree with all that, but we are saying that why those companies folded up, left, was not because of bad roads. I mean, Amechi had a judge open almost of the place. Odili continue. Amechi continue. Of course, Wike did. No, we're talking about industry operating. You have to create the enabling environment for the industry to operate. And most of these things are also federal government policy that also truncate the industrial development of Port Harcourt and Rivers State. The other day, I passed through the Port Harcourt refinery. Yeah, it doesn't look like a place that was vibrant walking. Every place is bushy. The only place that looks maybe there's life is the element petrochemical. If you enter that Port Harcourt refinery road, it's grass all over the place. Nothing is walking there. So, so the president cannot say he's trying to protect the economic activity of River State when the economic activity of River State is being strangulated by the federal government policies. The monorail, the River State was the first place to start monorail. We can abandon it. I went to Abuja to complete the monorail that Amechi started. So what kind of joke is that?
Dr. Peter, Emmanuel Cooky, we just have to leave it there. I mean, it's a discussion that would surely continue in due course, but we want to appreciate you for your insights on the topic this morning.
Thank you. And I think we should focus more on how the economic activities, that should be a signature, something, because, I mean, this political talk does not help anybody. How do we make the state, the country come alive again? Because that is what keeps people going.
All right, but in
Thank
one
you.
sentence, say for instance, in 1 minute, how would you advise that economic activity is stimulated?
One, we need good policies and legislations. The enabling environment has to be there. Do we have laws that grant some tax relief to investors? Do we have policy that properties can be acquired with less trouble? Do we have policy that can deter community conflict with businesses? Do we have those kind of policies? Because most of the things that drove this company away was community problems. So how are we guarding against it? And also political, when the government cannot withstand political differences. If somebody is not supporting you, if he has a filling station, you go and close down the filling station because of political differences? No. We are multi-party states.
All right, let's leave it there. Many
So
thanks
there
for
have
your
to be
time.
policies, there have to be legislation, there have to be proper institutional framework that is designed to attract businesses, even encourage the Nigerian business itself. Thank you.
Dr. Peter, many thanks. We truly appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
So we're back after this short break. Do stay with us.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.